Welcome back to another episode of Ladies Kickin Ass. I'm Tanya Wilson, your host, and I am here with the fabulous Dorothy Enriquez, and I am so excited. Welcome to the Ladies Kickin Ass podcast, Dorothy.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. So Dorothy founded the Elevate Collective, which is a premier learning and leadership firm. And through her work at this firm, Dorothy helps leaders optimize their influence so that they're equipped to lead from any seat that they sit in, which I think is a very interesting position there. And she is known for her effective communication skills, edutaining, which is a whole new word we're going to have her explain to us, leadership courses, and interactive cohort style experiences. I'm so excited to get into this. Leadership is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So
yes,
the fact that you do this, this is going to be a great conversation. So go ahead and tell everyone about yourself. Kind of what's your story? Like, not just the work, Dorothy, like who is Dorothy at her core?
So at her core, Dorothy is someone who is going to be persistent. Dorothy is someone who's going to lean on creativity. And Dorothy is someone who, at the end of the day, it's all going to tie back to my faith. So that is who I am without looking at roles or anything like that. My most recent story that has been going on, I guess, for the last few years, and how I got to where I am right now is that I got the idea to create this firm in 2016. I'm like, whoop, whoop, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to create this firm. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to have a baby. It's going to be great. And then I'm going to be full time and it's going to be great. Oh my God, yes. Well, while I did do all of those things, the way that those things came together was not exactly how I planned it. So in 2016, I got the idea. 2017, I launched. 2017, I also got pregnant. 2018, I quit my job. Then I had a baby. Then I filed for divorce. Then I went full time. Wouldn't recommend it as far as like the order and the back-to-backness of it all. That's how I got to where I am today. So I've been full time since 2018. And we are an award-winning premier learning and leadership development firm. I am a single mom, and my little bun in the sun just turned 5 in May.
Oh, that's so fun. It's such a fun age. We were talking about that before we hit record on here. I love that age so much. There's so much fun. So tell me, who is the ideal client of the Elevate Collective?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so the ideal client for Elevate is a corporation, nonprofit, or small business that is a good culture match. And so what I mean when I say culture match is that as they're being very intentional about cultivating a culture where the people who work in it, right, all the team members who are igniting the mission and vision have the opportunity to find meaning in the work that they do. And so to be a good culture match for Elevate, it's really important that you're not just checking the box with what you're doing. So for example, on the diversity, equity, inclusion, engagement side, it could be that all the Black people are quitting or all the Black people are upset. We should do some training. Let's check this box so that we could say that we did it. Or all the women are upset, or the women are, engaging in this mass exodus. We need to do some training to get them to be happy again. That would not be a great culture match for Elevate. It's the organization that wants to ignite intentional inclusion and say, you know what? We want to create this brave space where all of us can come to work together, not have to cover so much, and have the opportunity to flourish in order to do their best work. So organizations that really are aligning with those ideas and ideals, those are the kinds of companies that we want to work with. If they're just trying to do something to get people to be quiet or to get people to stop complaining, we wouldn't consider that a good culture match.
Sure. Well, culture is everything to me in how a business succeeds. How a
Yeah.
business is doing, the health of the business is directly reflective on the health of the culture at that business.
Say it again for the people in the back. Yes, that
You
is
have
1000% true.
to invest in that. And I think what's so interesting too, with my audience being in the service industry, is that people think we have a great culture because we have snacks in the snack room. You're like, no, that great. That's
No,
nice of you. But culture is very much about the inclusion. It is about investing in those team members and employees to help them become better people personally. And then you see the benefit professionally,
right.
and holding them accountable for the things that you hired them to do. Culture is not just suns and roses all the time. Like, if
That
you're not
part.
doing your shit and being held accountable for it, then this is not a good culture fit either, because that just breeds cancer. Do you go into
Absolutely.
businesses where you see this, and what kind of approach do you take with them?
So it depends. And so if a business is in a really precarious position as far as where they are from a leadership development or
Mhm.
DEIE standpoint, I am going to be doing with my team an assessment of the leaders at the top. And so what happens is the people who are at the top, whether it's the executive leadership team, senior leadership team, or whatever they call themselves, they are often the ones who are the keepers of the culture, air quotes.
Mhm.
And so what this means is they've built this house, they've created this culture, and they have basically disseminated the culture downward. They don't know what it's like to live in this house. They don't know what it's like to live in this culture because they're the ones who created it. So they often don't have a ton of context about what is it like to live here. And many times it's a lot of unintentional creation, culture creation, where it's like, well, we didn't mean for it to be like that. We didn't mean for it to look like that. And so the decisions that we have to make in choosing whether or not to partner with an organization to really ignite culture transformation is highly dependent on the leaders, because it's not just about like, are they willing to pay? Rather, it's
Sure.
about what are you going to do? What does your pathway and trajectory look like so that when we start making shifts, you are on the backside of this, creating bandwidth and capacity to navigate the shift. So what do I mean by that? Because some people are like, what the hell did she just say? So here's the thing. For all of you who had a job before you started your own business, think about the times that your company would send you to a conference. Did they send everybody? No, they sent one or two of you, and they send you to this nice, fancy, expensive conference. They tell you for 3 days, take all the notes, bring it back, and come and teach us everything that you've learned. So now you go to the conference, it's incredible. You can't wait to take everything that you've learned back to the office. You get there and they're like, oh my God, that's neat. We can't do that. Oh my God, that's great. We're not doing that. Oh my God, that's so cool. That will never work here. And so
Yeah.
now you've got all these great ideas, you've got momentum, you've got excitement, and the culture that you're living in cannot withstand the change. And so nothing gets implemented. Naturally, you're not as engaged, you begin to disengage, possibly actively disengage, all because the culture is not designed to withstand the initiative or the change or the impact that you would like to make. It's the same thing when you bring in somebody external to help with culture transformation, but the leadership is not on the backside paddling like the little ducks. You can't see their feet in the water, but they are paddling feverishly to try to create a new backdrop in which the culture can withstand the change. And so for me, it really depends on who these leaders are, what they're saying, and whether or not they are truly committed to igniting transformation long term. Because if they're not, I'm not, we are not gifting our leadership to them because it's a waste of our time.
Yes, and I'm so happy to hear you say that, because a lot of people think this relates back to the service industry, in like the home service industry, and the people that I work with, even inside my own business. People think, well, because they called, even though they're assholes, I have to work with them, and I have to
No,
fix it, and I have to do this. You
mm-mm,
do not have
you
to
do
do
not.
that. You do
You do
not have
not.
to do that.
Not
So
all money is good money. And there are some times
yes.
you do see potential. So what I do is I've created a PETA tax.
Hmm?
That's a pain in the ass tax. Because sometimes
Yes.
you have those
Yep.
PETAs. And so
Yep.
when you have a PETA, but you do really see potential, you do really see an opportunity to
Mhm.
gift your leadership and gift your services. But I do think you have to be thoughtful about, well, what is this going to take from you or take out of you to do this assignment?
Yes. Charge extra for that, for sure.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. So you have written a book as well, which is so cool and so hard, because I know that, because I'm in the
Oh my
process of
God.
doing that myself right now. So
Yeah.
it is one of those things where you're like, I'm so inspired. And then the next day you're like, am I? And then you go back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
It's all these wonderful stories that I hear from all these women that just continue to keep inspiring me to do that. So your
Right.
book is called Be Accountable and Be Fabulous. Growth
It
looks good on
sure
you,
is.
girl. And
Yeah,
there it is.
there it
Looks
is.
so
Gotta make sure it
good.
doesn't disappear.
That's a book, baby. That's an extension of you. So
Oh my
that's
God.
a lot of work in there. So tell me more about the book. Who's it for, and what can someone learn from picking up your book?
So this book is really for the lady leader who is interested in maximizing who she is and how she shows up. For the lady leader who's like, you know what? I could be doing this mom thing a little bit better. Or, you know what? I could be doing this business thing a little bit better, or this work thing a little better, or this relationship thing a little bit better. Um, for the person who's like, you know what? There are some areas of opportunity. I don't know where to start. I don't know why I'm getting hung up on this. I don't know why I cannot do this differently. This book is for her, right? Because it's a quick read, it's fun, it's funny, but it is going to snatch your edges, but also pour coconut oil all over them so that we can grow and flourish and get to where we want to be. And I do believe a lot of that starts with being accountable, having that personal accountability of, well, can I keep my promises to myself? Can I do what I
Yes.
said I was going to do? Can I hold myself accountable when it comes to doing the things that are going to help me advance, help me improve, help me do things better? And for a lot of us, it's very difficult to have that personal accountability. And a lot of that stems from, experiences that we've had in the past, sometimes how we grew up. And so, how do we get ourselves to a point where accountability is sexy? Accountability looks good on you. It's
Mhm.
good for you to be accountable and responsible for who you are today, but who you're becoming tomorrow. And so I think that this book does a really nice job of helping us have those practical tips and tricks of like, oh, this is a question that I could ask myself because of where I'm at, how I'm feeling, and what I'm experiencing. And so, of course, when you write a book, you end up rereading your book 20 billion times. So that 20 billionth time that you read it, you're actually quite over it. But when I first started going through the publication process, the first time I read it, I was like, this is really good. This book is good.
Yes.
Like, this is good. Like, let me write that down. Mind you, I'm the one who wrote it, but
Yeah.
it's been such a long process that like I didn't remember what I wrote, but reading it again, I'm like, I don't know why I didn't do that 2 years ago. I should have read this book when I was deciding who I was gonna marry. Like I should have
Yeah.
read the book then. Had I read it, it would have been a different outcome because I'd have been like,
Mhm.
okay, there's not enough accountability. There's not enough responsibility. There's not enough personal accountability. There's like an external locus of control. People just aren't ready to rally. They're not ready to step up because what accountability does is it allows us to truly adult and adult well. And
Mhm.
sometimes we just want to be a Toys R Us kid.
Yeah. That's so true. But accountability, when you start holding yourself accountable and keep the promises that you make to yourself, it builds confidence like
Yes,
nothing else. And there is
that's
nothing
exactly it.
sexier than a confident woman. I don't give a shit
Absolutely.
what size you are and what you think you look like. If you can see, you can feel the vibration of confidence walk in a room. And that is
1000%.
something that is so beautiful. And you cannot have authentic confidence, which you can't fake confidence either, because everyone can smell right through it. But that authentic confidence is so attractive, and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing for business. It's a
Oh my God,
great
yeah.
thing for leadership.
Yeah.
It's everything for that. If you don't exert that confidence, who's going to listen to you? Who's going to buy from you? Who's going to
That.
want to be with you? So
Yes.
I love this so much. So I know that you said in some of the stuff that I was reading about this book that it helps people become more familiar with psychological theories that will help them remove victim glasses and then
Yep, they're gonna
don
take
their
off their victim
sexy.
glasses and put on their
Yes,
sexy accountability glasses.
I
Ooh.
love it. What do you mean by victim glasses?
So a lot of times when we don't want to take accountability, we are going to look outside of ourselves to see who can we blame, right? So
Hmm.
let's say that we are working with a client and the client is like, well, I just don't feel like you did a good job. Like here are the areas that I feel like whatever the service was fell short. Then you might say something like, if you're wearing your victim glasses, you might say, well, it's because you're just not an ideal client. And had you filled out the form better, I could have done what I needed to do for you better. Or like, let's say you're doing like pest control and they're calling you and they say, we're still seeing bugs, your service sucks. Then you might say it's because you're nasty. Like if you would learn
Yeah.
to clean up, you wouldn't be seeing bugs because I went over there and it was gross, right? So you're
Yeah.
basically deflecting and or putting it on someone or something else, and you don't want to take any accountability to say, oh my God, let me fix this. How can I help? How can I make sure that you're having a great experience with my firm, my agency, my organization? Because not only do I want to continue working with you, but I also want you to give me referrals. But if we're putting it
Yeah.
back on them and not, being open to the feedback, which is an opportunity for us to grow, an opportunity for us to develop, and an opportunity for us to cultivate an even more impactful business where if it's like, man, you could be having bugs everywhere, but if you call Susie's Pest Control, she'll get you right, even if your restaurant is looking kind of suspect. Or,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You could have laundry that your pets were rolling all in, but if you call so and so's laundry service, those clothes are going to look like you just bought them from the store, right? Because of how service oriented you are and how you hold yourself accountable to a standard of excellence in the work that you do. And so there's all different kinds of victim glasses that we can wear. It's, we can we can be the type of victim that just puts our head in the sand and we just don't even acknowledge what's happening. We just pretend like
Hmm.
nothing's happening. We could be the type of victim where we're blaming the other person. We could be the type of victim where we're blaming the situation. We could be the type of victim where we say like, well, this is my fate. My life is happening to me. I'm not happening to my life, and there's nothing I can do about it. I have no say so in what happens in my life. It's just happening, and I just have to wait and let it wash over me as it comes. Instead of taking that personal accountability and that personal responsibility to say, yes, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep striving and striding towards this standard that I've set as I go out into the world of commerce to share my gift, my purpose, my calling, whatever the case may be, especially as service providers. I think not being able to take accountability will slow down our ability to build really successful, sustainable, impactful businesses.
Oh, yes. Oh, so true. So true. That's just like a little mic drop moment there. Very good.
Yeah.
Yes. So, what do you think is the number one skill that is required for a person to be really damn good at, to be a really good leader?
Okay. One skill, I guess if we're gonna pick one, okay, fine.
You
Let
can
me
give me
think.
a couple.
Okay.
What
So,
do you think are the most important ones people should have? Because I think
ooh,
oftentimes they think like, especially in the service industry, it's like a dictatorship. Like, I'm up here and I point and do this and do this and do this, which
mhm,
we all know is bullshit. But what do
right.
you think is like the things that makes a leader very attractive, that people want to be around them, they want to learn from them, they want to help build a business with them?
Ooh, this is good. Okay, so I'll list off a couple off the top of my head. So number one, if you want to be a great leader, especially in the service-based industry, as you bring people into your business, subcontractors, consultants, part-time, full-time employees, you want to trust your people to do the job that you hired them to do. And so if you want to be a remarkable leader, it's going to be really important that you learn the art of delegation, that you learn the art of trusting, and that you learn the art of allowing your people to fail. So they're not going to do it perfectly and they're not going to do it like how you would do it, but you got to trust them to do their job. You cannot scale your business if you're doing your job and their job too. And if you're, over their shoulder endlessly looking, at everything they're doing, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I also
Mhm.
think that you want to become someone who is approachable and accessible. And so the last thing that you want is that your people can never get a hold of you. It's like they are hounding you, they're texting you, they're Skyping you, they're emailing you, they're calling you, and you're like, oh, later, 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 later. You want to put in that discretionary effort of availing yourself to the people who are going to help you make your millions. You
Yeah.
want to make sure that you can answer questions, that you can engage and re-engage, and that you're not acting like these individuals who are here to ignite your mission, to ignite your vision, to help you execute on your purpose and calling. You don't want to sit here and act like they're endlessly bothering you, because then you're going to wake up and not have a team. Or even if you do have a team, they're not going to be engaged. You also
Mhm.
want to become a masterful storyteller. You want to be able to, through your art of storytelling, show your team that you can relate to what they're experiencing. Like, I remember a time when I made a mistake, or I remember a time when I totally flubbed with a client, or I remember a time when I just didn't think I could do anything right. And I just felt like I sucked. But here's how I overcame that, right? Having this masterful art of storytelling and then giving your people a chance to shine. Are there some like special projects? Is there some client that's like a difficult client, but you know that you have someone on your team that is so good with difficult people? Like, give your people an opportunity to really shine and showcase their competence, their confidence, and their capacity and capability to execute with brilliance. And I think sometimes, because we're just, in such a like, gotta get this done, gotta get this done, gotta do this, gotta do that, and we're moving at a very fast pace, we're forgetting about the human part of these businesses
Yeah.
that we run and all of the human elements, because it's service, right? When it's service, it's people to people, right? And so how can we give the people that are helping us ignite the mission, vision, and values of our firm an opportunity to really showcase that they got the juice, they're amazing, they're incredible, and like, this is why I hired you. You are dope. Like, thank you
Yes.
for this. And so I think that, the last thing I'll lift up is, if you really want to get good at this, also learning to apologize, because you're not
Mhm.
perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to not always get it right. And so figuring out how to be able to kind of show up hand over heart, like, yeah, okay, so
Yep.
about this, about what I said, or about how I handled it, or about that email and how snippy it was. I'm sorry. I just, I was frustrated, but that was not the best way to handle that. I value you. I value your leadership and your skill set, and I need you. I need
Yeah.
you here because you're making an impact, and this would not be as incredible as it is without you. Those things, all of those things I just listed can go such a long way in creating a
Huge.
space where people want to come and work for you. They could be working for anybody, but they want to
Yeah.
come and work for you and help you make your millions.
Yes. Most people, especially service industry stuff, they don't switch industries, they switch companies. And the reason why they switch companies is because they don't like the leadership and the way things were running at the other place. Rarely even is it that it is a pay situation a lot of the times.
Yeah.
It is the culture part of things where people want to be part of something. If you want a team that will go to war for you, be transparent as a leader, because those people will show up for you in the darkest times at your business, and they
Right.
will be there to celebrate you in all of the highs of the highs. So
Absolutely.
I take that very personally, because that is the number one thing. That is my biggest job as an owner of a company, is to make sure that my people are taken care of. That is my job.
Yes.
They take care of everything
1000%.
else. So if I take care of them and I invest in them, I don't have to worry about doing all of the other stuff because they're not going anywhere. So it's so incredibly important. And it literally, like, I can't stress this enough, and I'm sure you can back this thing up. If you've got the attitude as a leader to do this, this doesn't cost you a damn penny. It seriously doesn't. All they need to know is that you believe in them and that you think they're doing a good job, and that you tell them that all the time. No one ever leaves my office without me telling them, thank you for what you did today. Thank you for this. Thank you for this. The fact that they
Yeah.
feel appreciated is the number one thing that keeps people at a job place.
Yeah, and I think I like what you said, because when you're building incredible cultures, when you're building cultures that people want to work in, stay in, and tell their friends and family about, like, you should come and work here, part of that is overdoing the thank yous, thinking like, oh, I don't need to thank them for like running payroll again. No, say thank you, because they
Yeah,
could have forgotten to
absolutely.
run payroll. It's like, well, that's their job. Yes, but they did it. It was on time. They were diligent. They were committed. And, in overdoing the thank yous, you are cultivating a culture where appreciation is part of the fabric. This is just what we do,
Yes.
where we appreciate, we say thank you. We don't take things for granted, because everyone in the service industry, I'm also guessing, we all started solo, whether it's a carpet cleaning company, a junkyard company, if it's, doing hair, whatever the case may be. As we're building the teams, most of us did not start with a team. Most of us remember a time when you were the accountant, you were the tax preparer, you were the assistant, you were customer service, you
Yep.
you were fulfillment, you were everything. You
Yep.
literally one-stop shop, and you represented all of the jobs that are supposed to be multiple human beings. We know what that's like. We remember how difficult that was. So this is absolutely warranting and deserving of a thank you, because I remember when I used to have to do that by myself.
Yes. Don't ever forget your roots, no matter where it is and what you're doing, because that you've been there, you've walked in those shoes. Like, who better to cheer someone on than someone that has already been doing all of that, you know?
Right.
I think it means even more. It truly
Yeah.
does, because they've been in the ditch too, which is literally what happens at my
Listen,
company.
listen, yeah.
So, I know too, Dorothy, you're a hardworking mama. You have a beautiful little girl. And
I
something that I
do.
love to discuss with moms on this podcast is I am so incredibly passionate about this creating a new ripple effect for my family. I
Mhm.
grew up in a little tiny town in Wyoming, like tiny, like 100 people tiny.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
It was just always one of these, like, that's just the way we do it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, who the hell do you think you are if you wanted to go be somebody and do something, that wasn't ranching or working at the mine? It was like one of those little tiny towns. And it's one of those things that I look now as my kids are getting older. I have a 13-year-old daughter too. And I just see what has changed for her in her life because of the decisions that I made that have truly changed a
Yeah.
new ripple in my family. The ripple in my family was a stone that had been thrown in the water generations before. And it was just like, everybody just lived off the same ripple and no one had thrown a new one in for a very long time. To leave this
Mhm.
small town was a big deal. It
Yeah.
cost family members, it cost people that you thought were your friends, it cost, a lot of things in order to
Yeah.
change your family tree. So
Yeah.
obviously, with the things that you are doing with your business, with writing your book, your daughter is able to see a beautiful example of, one, the strength of a woman, two, that she can do that too because mom's showing her how. And
Right.
so, what are the choices and the passions that you have made or are making around improving the environment for your daughter based upon what you kind of grew up with? What is something that you're passionate about that she learns that maybe you didn't learn and you had to learn on your own?
I mean, as you were talking about how like things were when you were growing up in a small town and things that your kids will never know about or see because of your decisions. Something that I told my friends, I want to say like last year. So of course, so my daughter's 5, so she plays pretend, right? Like plays make believe and things like that. So when I was growing up, we played house. Little kids don't play house, they play family, which I think is kind of cool. She really doesn't play family though. Sometimes, but most of the time, funny enough, she plays business. And I'm just like, what? So I notice when my daughter plays, she doesn't play work. So she never goes to work. She's never had a job a day in her life since she started playing.
Mhm.
Every time she plays business. So her name is Malia, and she's got about 3 businesses. She has Malia's Panda Bears Boutique Hotel. She's the one who said it was a boutique hotel. Where did she get that from? Because I didn't tell her about anybody's boutique hotel. She has Malia's Panda Bears restaurant and then
Mhm.
Malia's Panda Bears bodega. So the bodega is vertically integrated with the restaurant, but she does not have a job. She has employees and
Mhm.
she always has people working for her, but she doesn't work for anybody. She is the owner, founder, CEO, creator. She's a multi-passionate business owner, so that's why she's got so many businesses. Um, but for me, that was not how I was when I was a kid. I played
Mhm.
work. So usually I was a teacher, which technically I'm a teacher now. But I
Right.
always had a job when I played
Mhm.
make believe as a kid. And so to kind of watch her over the years and notice that she's never worked for anybody. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I wonder why. Like, what? I wonder why she's like this. Um, and
Oh,
I
wait till
just
she
kind of
turns 13. Then you're like, I have created my own copy and I deserve everything that's coming out of it.
listen. So I feel like for her, you know, what she is getting, because I'm one of those empowering conscious parents, and I did not
Mhm.
grow up with empowering conscious parents. I
Mhm.
grew up with Caribbean parents, and I grew up in another country. So she's growing up in the US under this empowering conscious movement. And so I think the benefits of it, while I need to live through it, and I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I think the benefits for her is that she is able to rest in the decisions and choices that she makes while also understanding that she can reserve the right to change her mind. She can be a lot more confident because she has a lot more room than I ever did to express herself. She has space and room to get frustrated, to get angry, to pop off and say what she got to say. And I look to myself as her Sherpa to guide that. Because while for me, I'm like, oh, how dare you? Like, I would have never been like that. I was never like that. But at the same time, because I didn't have the opportunity to be that way, I had to cultivate the skills of learning how to self-regulate as an adult. She's not, she's going to be, I think, in a much better position when she's 21 than I was. And so for that, I'm excited for her, because I feel like when we can learn these skills and get the coaching, mentoring, and guidance from our parents when we're young, I think our trajectory is far more powerful once we become adults and really become our own person, because we can rest and be confident in who we are and who we're becoming, versus having so much trepidation and being risk averse and wondering if we're making a bad choice and feeling like we need to run to our parents every 5 seconds because they would not give us the freedom to fail. And so she's growing up in a very different environment, but that is largely because I have a very different perspective. I'm not raising a kid. I am raising an adult. I'm not raising her to be a professional teenager, nor am I raising her for myself. I'm raising her for other people so that she can go and function in the world and contribute and be a productive citizen, regardless of what country she decides to live in.
Oh, that is so beautiful. So beautifully said. It's so cool to see this, because just like you say, that your daughter has never had a boss and she's never worked for someone.
She's never worked
when we were kids, it was like we needed to find permission somewhere to become that person. And our girls are growing up as if there was never a limitation anyways.
If you don't preach a good word on this line, my friend, the world of possibilities.
Yes. It's that barrier that we had to go through to walk through what I called that serious fucking brick wall is what it was for me for a long time.
Right.
That we knocked that wall down though.
Because
now these little girls can see right through the wall, and it is now their decision to step over it and go into that. And it's like, well, duh, why wouldn't I? You know, there is no reservations as maybe my daughter is very much, she does not worry that she's too much for anybody. If I'm too much for you, you're not my people.
When I'm she's like, I'm done being edible for you. You can choke.
Yes. She just,
I did not have that. I did not get that until maybe like 5 years ago.
Oh my gosh. And we both probably still walk in a room full of women, particularly, and think, I don't know if I can be my full self in here because I might be a little too much for people. And it's such a beautiful thing to see. My daughter had sent me a TikTok video and she said, when you're raised by a mom that says the haters are just jealous of you. It was like one of these little like videos. The little girl walks up to him and she's like, I don't deal with this. And she just walks away. And I'm like, it is such a beautiful thing that we are teaching them not to engage in the drama and engage in that teenage thing and what that stuff is, because they know their worth. And we've told them you can literally be whoever you want. And it's a beautiful demonstration to them that it really is possible, because I think our parents told us that, but we never watched them do. I never watched my parents do that. So I was always like, well, they say this, but is it really? And so it's something you have to figure out for yourself. So your daughter just at 5 being able to see all of this stuff, if for anything else, you're doing an incredible job just so that she and her friends can see what a strong woman looks like. So thank you for showing up for all of the girls that way. I think it's so important that we do that. So just kind of in closing here, I just want to thank you so much for your time today. This has been such a fun conversation. I love what you're doing. I love the Elevate, what you're doing with your business. So what's next for Dorothy? What are you working on? What's going on with the business?
So what's next is we're actually winning another award in July. It's a leadership award that will be getting honored and sitting on a panel in Vegas. And so I'm really excited for that. And then we're getting ready to launch a group coaching membership this summer, where people can join the Elevated Leaders Circle. And I'm excited to be able to offer something for individuals, because we don't have a lot of individual based content. It's usually attached to an organization. So I'm excited to have that opportunity coming up. And yeah, I'm excited to actually go on vacation in September, because I know while I just got back from vacation, I know I'm going to need it by then. And so
Yeah.
I'm excited for what's on the horizon. I do feel like, you know, Elevate is getting so much more exposure and so much more awareness, and there's so many amazing opportunities that are on the horizon. And so I am just really excited, incredibly blessed, and feeling like, look, the same way the world of possibilities is opening for my daughter, I feel like the world of possibilities is opening for me as well. And so, I mean, everyone is required to lead from every seat they sit in. You cannot not do it. It's not doing it is not an option. And leadership is influence. And the first person who gets influenced by you is you. And so if you cannot listen to yourself, if you cannot be accountable to yourself, it will be very challenging to get other people to do it. Because
Yes.
you said your kids are watching you, right? We watched
Mhm.
our parents. And so what are you demonstrating for the people in your life? I don't care how many roles you have. You could be a mom, you could be a sister, you could be a bestie, you could sit on a board, you could volunteer at church, you could volunteer in the community. But in each of those, you are leading. And the first person that you lead is you. And so our goal is to go on this journey of becoming masters of who we are and who we're becoming. And so each of us has a choice that we have to make every single day. But you are required to lead from every seat you sit in. Now, whether or not you execute with brilliance, that's on you. But that is the requirement. That is the non-negotiable. But also, there's just never been a better time to be a lady leader than right now. This is such an opportune time, right? And
Yes.
so
Oh yeah.
I really want for us to lean into our gifts, lean into our purpose and calling. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be pretty, but you got this. You
Mhm.
can do this. And even if it's hard, you can do hard things.
Yes. Oh, hell yes, you can. Yes, you can. So, Dorothy, if somebody wants to connect with you online, where's the best place for them to find you?
Okay, well, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Dorothy Enriquez. And then you can also find me on Instagram. I'm at the Elevate Collective. Elevate has two L's, ELLEVATE. And I'm on TikTok. I'm at Dorothy Leads, LEADS. So there's a few ways that we can stay in touch, and definitely visit beaccountable.befabulous.com and take the free quiz so that you can get the free checklist.
Yes. And we'll put all the links to all of that in the show notes here for you, too. So it'll make it nice and easy for you to find it. There's no excuses not to. So, one last question in closing that I ask all my guests, because I'm
Okay.
fascinated with how people relate to the phrase that is actually the title of the show. So, I would like to know from you, Dorothy, what does the phrase ladies kicking ass mean to you?
I feel like ladies kicking ass means that even if you don't have all the answers, even if you don't have all the pieces, even if you can't use your super X-ray vision to look around the corner, you will trust yourself, and you will trust yourself in the process so that you can keep going, because there are so many people waiting for you. You can think of it like a track meet. Think of it like the 4x4, right? Somebody is reaching back, waiting for you to pass them the baton. And because there's so many people waiting for you, you got to kick ass. You don't get to quit. You You don't get to stop. You don't get to shirk. You don't get to make excuses. You have to run your race, because there's so many people waiting for you to get to the finish line so that they can do what they need to do. And so if you gonna kick ass, go ahead, don't talk about it, be about it. And do what you know you're supposed to do what you know you're called to do, and we can cry about it later. Crying is good, but we can cry about it later while we're still getting after it and getting it done.
Yes. Oh, so good. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm so excited. I'm going to get this book. I'm going to read this book. I think it sounds amazing. So I will put everything in the show notes here. Anything last saying that maybe we forgot to ask you that you want to add to anything or send someone off with?
Listen, at the end of the day, if you made it this far, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And I just want you to know, every time life makes a shift, every time things change, it is a perfect opportunity to look at your leadership. You got this.
Thank you.